Hi everybody, I'm Show60. The following video game analysis that you're about to see might contain some suggestive material not suitable for anyone under the age of 18 or anyone with fragile sensibilities. So I want you to really take that into consideration, because everything you see after this little disclaimer is fair game. Otherwise, sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
Bayonetta. Bayonetta is one of the 4 games to serve as a magnum opus for the then fledgling development company Platinum Games, formerly Capcom's Clover Studios, founded by Atsushi Inaba, Shinji Mikami, and Viewtiful Joe and Devil May Cry 1 director Hiiraki Kamiya. The game originally released on the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360 in 2009 in Japan, and worldwide in 2010. To commemorate its sequel's release on the Nintendo Wii U, the game was re-released for that console alongside it in 2014. For a fair assessment, we will be basing the review entirely on the Nintendo Wii U version and PlayStation 3 port. Many have described the plot as convoluted and hard to make out, but I will try to elaborate. For 5 centuries, 2 clans called the Lumen Sages and Umbra Witches had instilled the balance of light and darkness. However, civil war broke out between the 2 clans, resulting in a genocidal witch hunt against the Umbra. Fueled by their misunderstanding of the Dark Witches, the Lumens and their allies used their belief in their god to increase the body count of the clan. None had survived except for the main character and the rival heiress to the clan. The name of the game is Stylish Action, which means that much like a majority of their Capcom catalog of games such as Viewtiful Joe and Devil May Cry, you're tasked to not only defeat your enemies, but put on a flashy show while doing so. In the case of our bewitching anti-heroine, hypersexual fan service is aplenty. The thing is, she's fully aware of what she says and what she does, which adds to the fact that this game doesn't take itself too seriously, nor is it apologetic on the matter. I cannot stress how arbitrary this setup is, and how necessary it is for an action game, especially if geared to a mature audience. That is, of course, if one considers also that the game handles a big chunk of its suggestive material with polish and finesse, a lot more than one would assume. The game is divided into chapters, each one containing a varying number of missions or verses in keeping with the biblical themes of the game. Each verse requires you to mostly defeat a horde of angels or overcome seemingly arduous obstacles under an undisclosed time period. Upon completion, you're given a grade for your performance. Your combo output, the time it took to complete the mission, and your vitality are major factors in these verses, and are calculated into your final grade, which ranges from Stone being the lowest to Pure Platinum the highest. Between chapters, including the prologue, you play a game of angel attack with arcade bullets that you found earlier, and after finishing the minigame, you can buy items you can use to prepare for later missions, or exchange points for halos, which are the game's currency. The other methods for attaining halos are as follows: defeat angels, raid Umbran coffins, and as previously mentioned, exchange points, and lastly, increase your points via the combo multiplier, which will be explained later. To fulfill these tasks, we'll explain the control setup. By default, Bayonetta has guns assigned to her hands and feet. The attack controls, in this case the X and A buttons assigned for punching and kicking with the Y button used for basic shooting, can be used to deal damage and perform powerful quick-time event-based techniques such as punishing and torture attacks. The ZL button is used to switch out weapon combinations, which will be explained later. B for jumping and double jumping, L for provoking your enemies, R for targeting, analogs for movement and camera, and ZR for dodging. In the case of the latter, you can also perform Witch Time, a near-invincible skill that slows down everything around you while you deal more damage for a short amount of time. To access Witch Time, evade an enemy strike at the very last possible second. For better results, learn to read telegraphs of enemy strategy, or attack signposts, abbreviated as ASP. While most enemy ASPs are easy to decipher, others such as bosses and more powerful angels will demand more advanced defenses and better knowledge of the combat system than the preliminary bread and butter. Also, you can use the Wii U pad for easier control of the game, not to mention use other controls like the Classic Controller Pro and Wii Mode. Bayonetta introduces a metric system for defense in the form of what is called the combo multiplier. As the name suggests, it takes combo points and tallies them after a certain amount of time has passed. This is a vast, if not more in-depth improvement on Viewtiful Joe's combo and VFX system. The points are varied and awarded depending on method of attack. However, still methods of combat are discouraged in favor of variety and polish, as those help add more to the multiplier and inherently increase your money. To alleviate any further difficulty in combat, one must accumulate the following: weapons, skills, items, and accessories. We'll cover the ones that matter the most first. Weapons are discovered through records called Angelic Hymn LPs. Upon finding the fragments, you go to the game's shop, the Gates of Hell, and while its clerk, the fallen angel Rodan, plays the tunes, he'll forge the weapon for you free of charge, with most of the alternates of them costing halos. Not all weapons can be discovered by default, however. Instead, some of them can be unlocked by meeting various conditions, such as completing the game on a set difficulty or obtaining bewitchments, which serves as the game's equivalent to Xbox's achievements and PlayStation's trophies. Many of these armaments also contain aesthetic effects on behalf of the player, which come in the form of perfumes. Items can not only be purchased in the Gates of Hell and after Angel Attack, but can be dropped by enemies and be mixed, which requires the use of various ingredients. The trade-off being that the use of them during battle can damage the overall score. Then you have skills and accessories. For skills, there are powerful techniques that combine physical martial arts and magic. I should also note that all of her abilities are based on her signature mystic discipline, the Wicked Weave, an integral martial art of the Umber Way which uses their hair and the summoning of demons from Inferno. Say what you will, but I believe Bayonetta is mostly naked throughout the game. Thing is, she uses her hair as battle garb. Then there are accessories which make Bayonetta far more powerful, ranging from pre-activated witch time to parrying attacks. Magic-based activity is governed by magic gauge. This mostly affects certain accessories, torture attacks, and so on. The best ways to increase your magic are attacking your opposition and activating witch time without any custom accessories. As such, I should comment on the pricing on a lot of the objects that may result in heavy grinding on behalf of the player. I would suggest that you look up halo farming, a means of earning large amounts of currency in far more expedient time frames. For example, the 30-second air juggle challenge in Alfheim is one of the more recommended means of getting large sums of halos, mostly due to its unsettling learning curve and time restrictions. The graphics in the game were pretty good. A solid use of monochromatic color schemes, especially for the use of crimson as the lead motif, matched the game well. The archaic and biblical motif of Vigrid was astounding too. Unfortunately, it hasn't aged well after 7 years, and the varying monochromatics look washed out on ports other than the 360 version. The base frame rate of the game is 60 frames per second, not counting cutscenes. With that in mind, it's clear that all Platinum games like this one are all in-house creations, which means no assistance from graphics engines other than the defaults. However, in the case of this particular game, 2 other companies oversaw its porting to other consoles. Plainly, Next Entertainment's PlayStation 3 port has very inconsistent frame rates, going in between 60 and 30. What's worse is the loading times, especially in-game. Well, that's not much to worry about considering that during the loading screens, you can train Bayonetta to the utmost potential. B-Tribe's Wii U version has near perfect frame rate, but the graphics still show age and there are a few random stutters. Otherwise, the character designs are top-notch, a combination of realism and anime influence being a perfect blend. The creature art, that is the angels, are a great blend of organic and technological too. Controlling our hyposexual witch is on point and precise. Taking the nature of the game to account, you can perform incredible combos and insane techniques. She starts off easy to play and mash buttons with. The camera is near perfect and consistent as well, and if you press the right analog you can see where you're going. The same applies if you're pressing the R button to target enemies. I did state earlier that this game is good for mashing buttons, but I must also include that over time you will learn how to make use of the controls properly to the point of mastery. The sound direction is also a nice treat, but as music goes it's hit or miss. If you're not a fan of the cover version of Fly Me to the Moon sung in English, then you might want to mute your TV. To make up for it, you're treated to remixes of classic Sega games, many of which match certain stages that serve as Easter eggs for nostalgia buffs. Wii U owners are treated also to the option of listening to the character voices in English or in Japanese. Both versions have a colorful and outstanding voice cast, bringing life and style to the characters. Knowing how Platinum Games operates with their titles, this game cannot be beaten in one playthrough, as there are tons of secrets to uncover. The world of Bayonetta grows gradually from easy to unforgiving, assuming that you, the player, has a grasp on how to play. Upon beating the game, you get harder difficulties, new items, characters to play as, and so on. Therefore, you'll be playing this game for a good while. For a game that doesn't take itself too seriously, Bayonetta brings about a large helping of depth and scope. It does a good job in rewarding dedication and effort while leaving room for casuals to enjoy. Wii U fans will benefit more with the addition of Nintendo costumes from The Legend of Zelda, Metroid, and Super Mario Bros. Each costume also has unique effects that impact the look and feel of the game and make for good posts via the Miiverse. Overall, Bayonetta is a great breath of fresh air for stylish action games. For its over-the-top gameplay and presentation, it gets a positive recommendation and a spot in the Showa's Choice echelon of games for being favored by critics and myself. The PS3 port isn't enough to keep this game from being played, so get your hands on it any which way possible.